Hi, everyone. Welcome to Big Data today. Today we'll have a guest lecture. Lucy works at CERN. I saw you just had your 20-year anniversary recently, right? So time has been flying. So Lucy years in numerous roles in software engineering, IT management, IT strategies, and so forth. And Lucy will talk today about AI and strategies and tell us a little bit about CERN. So we are super happy that you're here today, Lucy, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Patrick. Thank you for the introduction. Thank you for the invitation as well. And thank you everybody for turning up. I hope I can give you an interesting oversight today. So I'm just going to share my slides. Can everyone see my slides in presentation view?
Yes.
Fabulous. Okay. All right. Here we go. Okay, so effectively today, I'm going to give you a bit of an overview about why, first of all, you need an AI strategy. And then I'll give you some insights in how you can build an AI strategy with some examples what we've done at CERN with our AI strategy. And then finally, the juicy part at the end, I'll share with you some information on the different job opportunities at CERN for students and graduates, and of course, give you some opportunity to ask questions at the end. I hope this sounds okay to everybody. Without any complaints, I'm going to launch in. Okay, so why do you need an AI strategy, first of all? Well, I think we all know that AI is transforming every industry, right? So what does an AI strategy bring? Well, quite simply, clear direction. It ensures alignment with business goals, responsible deployment, and long-term value creation across products, operations, and decision-making. So it also enables the company that you're working in to stay abreast of market trends and technological evolution. But I think what everyone's seeing in the world today, and there's certainly good examples out there, is that the biggest risk for companies is the risk of falling behind through not having a strategy. So why does it really matter now? Well, organizations are facing rapid technological change, a lot of competition, and vast data growth. And so without a clear AI strategy, efforts become kind of fragmented. You wasted the investments that people are making, and there are, of course, ethical pitfalls that people are encountering as well. So lots of text here, I'm sorry for this. Some failures through lack of AI strategy. So there's a few statistics out there, but I find this one quite interesting that Gartner estimates that a large percentage of AI projects, somewhere even around, more than 80% fail, often due to issues with data, with talent, or aligning AI efforts with business goals. There's just some examples here of the failures that can happen. Treating AI as a single project, for example, is not a long-term strategy, a thing that keeps changing. Forgetting about scalability, implementing something too small, and then not actually realizing you need to scale up for your whole organization. Failure to test and validate, putting AI out there. I think we've seen a lot of horrible stories on the internet about AI that hasn't been tested and some, questionable results coming out of it. Neglecting infrastructure requirements, for example. If you don't have the right infrastructure in place, your AI strategy isn't going to work. Just a few examples here. But what is an AI strategy? If we think about this in simple terms, well, effectively, it's basically a smart plan, nothing more complicated than this. So just like a coach makes a game plan for a team, a company makes an AI strategy to decide how and where to use AI to help us work better and faster, ideally without making any mistakes. So it's kind of just a way to make sure everyone in the company, the organization, knows what AI should do and how to use it safely. So it's really an overlap between data, people, and the business, and it aligns AI initiatives with organizational goals. It covers vision, execution, and governance. And it's important to mention what it is not. It's not just IT. It's not just an IT or digital strategy, and it's certainly not just a busyness report. It's not a report on what are we doing with AI. It has to be fixed and targeted towards what your organization is doing, but it has to be looking future forwards as well. What are you going to do? How are you going to grow? So where do we start? Well, effectively, always start with your pain points or your business opportunities. You need to look at your business objectives. What's your company or your organization trying to achieve? What's your prime reason for existence? You have to listen to your end users and your stakeholders. People in IT don't always know what the business needs unless they're tightly interlinked and connected. You need to identify where the most gain is to be made with AI, and it has to be aligned with your strategic goals. Does your company want to grow? Does your company want to be more efficient? Does your company want to innovate crazily? Plenty of things need to be taken into consideration, and you can always apply a top-down approach or a bottom-up approach or a combination of both. You need to balance the strategic alignment with opportunities to find value through innovation, data-driven discovery. And very importantly as well, I've seen some great ideas which are poorly defined, lots of passion behind the ideas, but they end up being very expensive mistakes if they're not aligned with the business strategy as well. I would also just encourage everyone to identify use cases that really bring value and that are measurable and actionable. This is very key. Okay, so how do you prioritize your use cases? Well, first of all, I hope it goes without saying, you need to focus on your return on investment. What are you going to get from that AI? What value does it bring to you? And then you need to score and rank your top 3 to 5 projects. Don't spread yourselves too thin, trying to do too much AI everywhere. You need to consider some prioritization criteria for your use cases. You need to look at the value it's going to bring versus how doable is it? What's the feasibility and how much is it going to cost? The cost doesn't just mean the licensing costs. The cost means total cost of ownership. What's your people costs to actually run the AI, to maintain it in the long term? What are your costs around risk, policy, ethics? You need to look at everything that's involved in order to cost it up properly. You need to consider what regulatory and ethical considerations you're subject to. These could be organization specific, it could be Europe specific, it could be world specific. But these really need to be balanced with your use cases to see what you need to achieve to actually make these use cases deliverable. You need to consider your data availability. If you've got a great use case, but it's going to take 6 months to make your data accessible, perhaps it's not the right use case to start with. And you need to assess your technical feasibility. How doable is it? What technical infrastructure do you need to achieve your use case? And again, as I said before, listen to your end users and your stakeholders. But quite importantly, I don't know if any of you heard of this term before, avoid your hippos, your highest important paid person's opinion. If there's somebody who's paid a lot of money around the table and they're pushing very hard for something, make sure you listen to all your stakeholders and not just them, because it really needs to be driven by what the organization needs across the board. Okay, what do you do next? Well, you need to start looking at your data and your infrastructure foundations. You need to make sure that your data is really AI ready. You need to look at your data governance models, the quality of your data, how easy is it to access, how easy is it to integrate across your systems. You need to look at your security and compliance, and you need to set up data pipelines to make sure that your data is smoothly transported through all your systems and delivering the AI capabilities that's needed. High quality data really is non-negotiable. I spoke to somebody recently and their feedback on putting AI into their organization, it's a big organization here in Geneva. Actually, the cost of the curation of their data was far greater than the cost of their licensing needs. So you really need to work with your business stakeholders to make sure you get your data AI ready. Again, if you look at the quality and it's not good, you're going to get not good results coming out of your AI. I don't know how many of you used AI or a chatbot that's given you poor results. I doubt very much you go back if the quality is not good and what you're getting out. I would also recommend considering an AI readiness approach when storing any of your data. So have a kind of policy ready prepared so that as you start to store more and more data, you tag it with, metadata that's needed for it to be accessed easily and classified by AI. Also try perhaps depersonalizing it if you can, so then you don't risk exposure of data privacy constraints when you're actually putting the data into your AI. And make sure you make informed infrastructure choices. You need to invest in scalable infrastructure. It's okay starting with perhaps a small in-house built chatbot, but as soon as you've got thousands of people in your organization using it, you need to make sure that it will hold up to that test. You need to maximize the use of cloud opportunities out there, but also balance whether you have to have a specific internal AI that cannot be put out in the cloud. So you have a kind of hybrid approach, whether you want to keep it on premise or whether you can actually release it out there. And I would recommend looking at a suite of AI. No one tool fits all needs. And it may be that perhaps your developers need one tool, your administrators need another tool, your innovators need another tool. You really need to look at what's necessary to really deliver on the objectives that everybody needs in your organization. Okay, next, I would suggest that you organize your AI for talent and delivery. So you're going to need a wide range of people to do this. We don't just need technical experts. We will need UX experts as well, product managers as well, to make sure that the delivery is kept at a good cadence. You need subject domain experts on your content that's going to be accessed by AI, as well as your traditional computing engineers. And you need to get the right organizational structure for AI to make sure that your AI is kept in a centralized place in your organization and it's well governed, again, by a central body. If people don't have the skills, you either look to recruit people. Oh, there's a huge market out there. Obviously, I'm sure you're going to be part of it one day. But if you don't have access to recruit new people with AI skills, you need to upskill the people within your organization. I would recommend also that you choose the right delivery model for your company. Can you outsource your needs? Do you have to build it yourself? Can you just buy it from another company? What partnerships can you build? Are there companies out there that already have provided AI that you can actually work on delivering it together? Do you need a centralized or decentralized or hybrid delivery model? Do you want to build? Do you want to buy? Do you want to partner? Do you look at your internal capabilities? Do you look at external? All of these questions have to be addressed, but also very much tied into what you're trying to achieve with your AI. This is pretty important. So it's important to establish responsible AI governance. I think there's a lot of fear out there of what can happen in using AI without safety, without ethical considerations. There's also a lot of work been done in Europe and elsewhere. We have GDPR. The EU AI Act is very useful. It balances AI based on the risk levels of using it. And then there are also industry-specific regulations already out there. So you don't necessarily need to rewrite all the rules. You can use a basis of what's already out there in the world to use. I would say you need to take into very strong consideration ethical AI principles, fairness, accountability, transparency, the safety of using the AI. Do people feel safe using it? If people aren't comfortable and reassured that when they use your AI in your organization that they're going to be safe using it, then you won't have the take up and you won't achieve the goals you're trying to deliver on. You need to look at your risks. What are the risks out there? There are already risk registers created in Europe that are available to use already if you want to, but also how to mitigate the risks. Are you going to make a specific action to mitigate risks, or are you going to accept the risks, knowing that the risk remains there, that you don't need to do anything necessarily a different step to mitigate what might happen if the risk occurs? You need to align with your legal and regulatory frameworks in your organization, and you need to determine how you will achieve bias mitigation, transparency, and ensure human oversight. I think we all know, right, that while AI is great, it will never be as good as you in terms of your human judgment. It's great to use what comes out, but you always need to apply your own principles and your own approach on whether it's appropriate to use the output that's come out of AI. Does sound a bit boring at this point, I know. But if you get this bit right, it's a huge enabler of AI. If you can ensure that your organization, your company feels comfortable and secure and safe, well informed on the risks of AI, of what they should do to be responsible with it, they will use it, they will uptake it, and it will be a fantastic win for your organization. I've put a link here to the UNESCO recommendations on ethics with AI, which is very interesting and a very useful basis if you need to write something like this yourselves. Another important point. So this insider tip from me, the measurements you make on how effective your AI is will be a real win for you in achieving your management buy-in on whether you want to progress with AI. If you can measure what you're doing, you can show to them how useful it is, what savings it might make for your company, what value it will bring, and this will really be a strong driver for you to achieve great things with AI in your company. Certain things you can monitor, return on investment, because we've already identified what return you expect. The accuracy levels you get out of it, You need to make sure that you can show to them that, this AI solution really is delivering good results for your organization. What models and tools are you using, and which one is the more performant? How much are people in your company adopting the AI? If they're not, why aren't they? And investigate this, and then put in place measures to encourage people to adopt the AI more widely. Clear one, what productivity gains are people achieving? How many hours a week are they saving on routine, mundane tasks, for example, that actually AI is helping them mitigate? I would also recommend fostering a culture of experimentation and learning in your company. Make sure you've got plenty of information out there about how people can maximize the best use of AI. Just simple things like prompt engineering, prompt training, how to get the best answers out of AI, for example. Make sure they've got access to learning on safe and secure use as well. And put in place some channels, I would say, to allow people to send feedback on their successes through using AI. That will also give extra value for you to show to your management of how it's really been successful, strong, concrete cases. But it also shows you where you can improve. And actually sharing these successes, not just with the management, but wider in the organization, is another kind of peer-to-peer way of encouraging people to adopt AI in your company. This is a nice little simple measurement, actually, that I found quite useful. I used this often in the past as a product manager, and I found it useful in my current role whilst driving the AI strategy for CERN as part of a working group. So we really looked at how mature are we with AI today. There's a scale of 1 to 5. 5 is extremely hard to reach, and there are very few companies out there with 5. But if you can already reach a level of 3, that's pretty good. If you're below 3, then set in place mechanisms, draw some conclusions, show what you're going to do to increase your maturity levels. Where are you actually going to achieve the 3 out of 5 or 4, and when? Next point would be to build a phased roadmap. It's a nice model, crawl, walk, run. So effectively you start slowly, learning and experimenting, gaining early experience, and reducing fear of failure through pilots. If you would engage some people within your organization to do some slow tests at first, beginning all together, and actually look at those results, change your direction if you need to, because of this early experience that's showing you what's working and what's not, you start to really make some progress. Then start to go a bit faster. The use cases that have been successful, can you scale these wider in your organization? Can you create a structure where people can actually adopt AI more easily? And try to integrate your AI into business operations. Start slowly again, 1 or 2 places, but as soon as you start to see that it's bringing benefits and value, you can then start to roll that out wider. And then you start to run. You have enterprise-wide integration and innovation using AI embedded in key processes, the things that are done every day, multiple times. The more you use it, the more value you'll gain. But also look at your continuous improvement. How can you keep making it better and gain a competitive advantage through AI leadership, especially if you're in a market where you are competing with other vendors or other companies providing a similar product to you. So in short, start small, scale fast. Have a phased roadmap that you can actually show the pieces that you're delivering, and make sure you ship things. Deliver what you're actually promising to deliver, and then move on to the next thing. And always have some quick wins at the beginning to show to your management that actually you're building momentum and you're delivering more and more. So I spent quite a bit of time thinking through this slide and the next one, because for me, this is one of the biggest issues I've faced in bringing about strategic change. Change management is crucial. So implementing an AI strategy, the tech, I have to say, is the easy part from my perspective. It's a real transformational shift, however, that deeply impacts how people work, how they think, and how they make decisions. People have to be adopted on board and ready to use AI, and they have to feel comfortable doing it. So you have to drive the adoption, and you have to manage any resistance that appears. Obviously, the first part, as I mentioned before, you need to secure executive sponsorship. If the organization knows that this is from the top management, from the senior leaders, that they really want this to happen, and they're their sponsorship is visible, this will bring you a lot more ability to grow in rolling out your AI in the organization. So communicate it as a strategic priority, and then make sure you've got allocated budget, resource, and time to actually, show people that it's being taken seriously in your company. Why does this matter? Well, initiatives stall or lose credibility if you don't have that senior leadership. A very important point, crafting a clear and inspiring vision. This really needs to be something that anybody in the organization can understand and attach onto. So you have to define why you're doing AI. Okay, we all know that it's great, it's going to be part of the future, but how does it align with the business goals that people can understand why they're using it? And always use simple, relatable language. Tying the vision to the values of the company, of the organization as well, is really important to show why, it's really part of your cultural fabric where you work. It's like having a kind of a North Star to rally behind, a point where everybody's following to. Invest in educating and upskilling your population. As I mentioned already in a previous slide, AI literacy training is a key factor of driving adoption. You need to make sure that everybody, whether they are a data scientist, whether they're a chief financial officer, whether they're somebody working in HR, procurement, they need to understand why and how they can use AI every day to become better in what they're doing. Provide hands-on learning for business users as well. Make sure it's easily accessible at their fingertips, that they don't need to pay extra money for or ask permission to do. Just make it available. Democratize that learning for everybody. And really promote a learn and experiment culture. Again, making sure that people have that safety to learn a bit about it and try it out. Does it bring them value? If so, it's really working. And really be prepared to bring about a culture shift. This requires a lot of inspiration, communication, passion, but if you can do that, it will happen. So, we don't want anybody to be afraid of using this or to have any misunderstandings, because this will slow down the adoption of AI in your workplace. I would say also that change management is about people first transformation. So there's some fear about people thinking they might lose their role, but you then need to redesign their role and the processes that people work on every day. Do that thoughtfully and in conjunction with people. Make sure that they feel on board and part of it, and show them how AI will really improve, augment, but certainly not replace what they do. Redefine job descriptions if they need to be, and the KPIs to manage what people are delivering, and show how the responsibilities might change because of the use of AI in the workplace. And always make sure you involve any affected teams early in the design discussions, so that again they feel it's AI is happening with them, not to them, so they're really on board. Communicate early, often, and as transparently as you can. Just be honest about what AI can and can't do. Show the limitations. Celebrate the quick wins and share your lessons learned. If you tried something that didn't work, show people what didn't work. And address people's concerns. Job displacement is a thing people are afraid of. Talk to them about that and help them understand why it might not be the case, or how they can use AI just to augment themselves instead of being replaced. This communication really just builds trust and reduces anxiety, and is absolutely essential in any AI strategy. So build trust through responsible AI as well. Coming back to the ethics and fairness, make sure that this is deeply embedded in your strategy, but also well communicated, and create those feedback channels so people can raise concerns if they're not sure what to do with AI, or if they found a new tool they want to use, but they're not sure how to use it, or if it's safe to do so. Make sure they know who to turn to if they've got questions. And make sure AI is kind of explainable as much as possible. Understand why you get the results out of it that you're achieving. Trust is really a strong foundation for the adoption and the long-term success of your AI strategy. And also plan for continuous change. It's not just you've done the strategy, drop the mic and walk off. It needs to be continually revisited to make sure that it still fits where you are with AI and what your organization strategy is looking at. If you can be as agile as possible, iterating, testing, and scaling what you're doing, That will bring you wins faster as well. And something that I found extremely useful is actually encouraging people to become change champions. They're kind of proponents of change without you telling people to do it. You know, if you go online to review a hotel, the hotel manager tells you the hotel's great, you're less likely to believe him, but you might believe somebody who's written a review that you've never met that says the hotel is great. It's a little bit like this, you know, if there's people who've actually used AI who aren't being told to use AI, that telling other people that it's great, they'll champion that, and other people will listen to this. So AI success really depends on adaptability as both the technologies evolve and your business needs evolve. A little point at the end, you know, if you do write an AI strategy, you won't be the first person to do it. So enlist some help. Don't be afraid to ask for help. There's plenty of consultants out there that offer services in drafting an AI strategy that will work closely with you and your business needs to understand what's right for your organization, your company. Talk to your network. I'm sure there's people out there who've also written AI strategies that you can, you know, have a look at their strategy and see, does that also fit you? Could it be a template? What might you need to change it? Use AI itself to help you write an AI strategy as well. But of course, always revisit the fact that does it really apply to you and does it tie in with your organization's needs? Start small, keep it simple. But always get validation on your AI strategy as well. If you've written it and yet then you start acting upon it, but yet your senior management hasn't validated it, they don't feel the buy-in, they don't feel it represents their needs, you won't necessarily get the continued success from it. And just iterate. If you don't get the right strategy, first of all, adopt, adapt. Okay, just a little bit of content about what we're doing with AI at CERN, just to keep the subject a bit less theoretical and a bit more practical. So we've been doing AI at CERN for about 40 years, actually. It's quite impressive, a bit longer than I've been at CERN. There's developments now with the LHC, with physics, but also developing, influencing technology, medicine, society at large. The advances in deep learning are quite impressive here at CERN, and because it's such a fast evolving field, we've got people from all over the world collaborating with us, bringing us great new ideas, but also bringing new competencies to the organization. It's arriving fast from every direction. So, you know, there's a lot for us to keep abreast of here at CERN. And we recognize that we need to be ready to have its fair, safe, and ethical adoption part of our CERN culture. So where we're at right now, we've started kind of grassroots efforts around AI strategies. In the accelerator sector and the physics research sector, we've had AI strategies for quite some time. And more recently, I've completed the picture with our finance, human resources, supply chain strategy around what we're going to do with AI. And recently we've convened a CERN AI steering committee, which I'm part of, and we're unifying and complementing these strategies to really bring them all together so CERN has one clear AI strategy for the future. It's a lot of text here, but I'm quite passionate about this statement, and I just wanted to read it to you because I think this is a beautiful vision statement of what we at CERN want to achieve with AI. CERN envisions leveraging artificial intelligence to be a core competence at CERN, empowering high-energy physics at unprecedented scale and precision, harnessing AI to support real-time analysis of massive, complex data, and enhancing LHC data processing through fast, powerful solutions. CERN aspires to employ AI to optimize operations, improve diagnostics, and perfect accelerator control and monitoring. We aim to unlock new research directions, increase knowledge accessibility, and boost productivity and quality across the organization. Our vision includes fostering an environment where AI adoption increases CERN's attractiveness as an employer and collaborator, attracts strategic funding, and strengthens our impact on global AI research and development in high-energy physics. It's a lot to achieve, but I love this vision statement. But what does this mean really in practical terms? Well, we need two kind of types of AI. We need AI for accelerators. It's kind of deep north-south AI. We need AI for research, similarly, north-south deep, but we also need anybody in the organization to have AI at their fingertips for productivity, efficiency, quality, innovation, east-west, all across the organization. And our 3 strategies are really being tied together to achieve this for CERN. So we have, as I mentioned, set up the AI Steering Committee, which is a cross-organizational body. Coming back to the theory part at the beginning, we're really trying to make sure we have representatives of all areas of the organization involved so that we really represent the organization's needs in terms of AI from all angles. So by the end of this year, we will have our AI strategy fully delivered with a governance structure, with a regulatory framework, with common development areas looking really at tools and infrastructure that we need to achieve our vision. And of course, productivity metrics to show how we're going to monitor the use of AI and how it's really bringing value to CERN and to our member states who invest in this organization. We also want to expand on our member state engagement mechanisms, really coordinating with institutes across the member state countries to avoid duplication, stop, making sure that someone here is building one tool and someone here is building the same tool. Let's really collaborate together in the spirit of the organization, maximizing synergies and sharing our opportunities as much as possible. Again, concretely, what does this break down to? Well, we have 7 work packages, really looking at the different areas that I've outlined before, and bringing together some policy, some guidance for the organization in all of these areas to really make sure that the AI strategy is delivered on in every aspect. Our timeline, well, we've got a pretty long timeline for the LHC, the High Lumi LHC, and the future accelerators and detectors. So right now, we're still looking at exploration, internal upskilling, high impact pilot projects around AI, and building the right infrastructure to achieve the long-term vision. The next phase will be really deployment of high impact pilots that can be broadened, scaled, delivered more widely at CERN, and enabling AI to help the new projects in High Lumi LHC and the new experiments achieve their goals, but also learning from our mistakes and doing some fine tuning. And then, of course, our ultimate vision is to have AI embedded in CERN future projects. So what does this mean in terms of our steering committee AI strategy milestones right now? Well, we have solid use cases identified and prioritized, ready to be tested in pilots. The work packages are already ongoing. We are identifying the right suite of tools for the organization, plus the right infrastructure to deliver on AI for physics. And we're publishing an ethical and safe use policy on AI very soon. We're preparing a training program based really on different personas in the organization, different roles of people, thinking about what different needs are and what do people need to achieve more AI literacy. We're looking at a hybrid delivery model, and the governance model is also in design at the moment. And right now we're running some pilots measuring productivity gains with AI, which I've got some super juicy data to analyze this afternoon when I finished talking to you today. All right, so just a few conclusions and takeaways on this kind of, CERN aspect, but also the theoretical stuff I told you at the beginning. Super important. An AI strategy must encompass the vision, the people, the data, and the execution. If you make sure you've encompassed these aspects in there, you'll have a fairly solid strategy. You need to prioritize in your strategy where to do AI first for the most value for your organization. Start small, learn fast, scale wisely. You need to govern responsibly, measuring often, and keeping improving. Get your data AI ready and don't underestimate the costs of that. Choose the right AI tools for now, but also in the future. You need to think about, okay, this is bringing us great results now, but if we've got this big change coming around the corner, we need to make sure that that's really going to work for us in the longer term. We need to be training your people and communicating widely on the training that's available for them. Building a realistic, achievable roadmap broken down into chunks, into pieces that can actually be delivered and measured. And these important part I told you, this is change management, invest heavily in it. Don't underestimate that part. Okay, so a little bit about what we have available at CERN. If this is interesting for you, there's not a huge amount of roles in AI strategy at CERN, but there's certainly a lot of AI stuff ongoing here, as you've seen. And we're always recruiting graduates and students to come and work here, really at the cutting edge of technology. So just to recap, for those of you who didn't visit CERN recently in the group of 25 that came, we've got 70 years of research here and 24 member states. We have 10 associate member states, and all of the people that work at CERN come from all across these different countries, which makes it an incredibly diverse and interesting place to come and work and study. But we have one mission, altogether, all these people. We want to do strong research in physics. We want to collaborate together across our member states. We want to make sure we bring back value to our member states through educating the people that come from there. And we want to invest in technology. It's a pretty cool mission, I think. We want to perform world-class research in fundamental physics. And we want to unite people from all over the world to push the frontiers of science and technology for the benefit of all. So coming back to the education part, actually training tomorrow's scientists and engineers, this could be you, promoting the uptake of careers in STEM is very important for CERN. It's really important to make sure that we bring back to our member states, training, information, knowledge for the future. We provide a unique range of particle accelerator facilities that enable the research at the forefront of human knowledge. I think the ones of you certainly that came here, we're just on the border between France and Switzerland, not far from Geneva. And we've got some quite impressive equipment. We've got an impressive accelerator, a complex. We have huge detectors, the size of a cathedral underground. And we've got a lot of computing power as well to store, distribute, and analyze the enormous amounts of data that come from these detectors. So just imagine if you could come here and be at the forefront of technology and physics, collaborating in this amazing, diverse environment, following experts in their domains and learning more from them, being part of a dynamic environment with lots of training opportunities. We provide training across the board in your subjects, but also in language training as well, for example. Things that you might be useful for when you leave the organization and work elsewhere, just simply, how to make great presentations or how to, collaborate in a team and run a project. There's an attractive remuneration package, which I confess is probably needed around here because the cost of living isn't low in Geneva. But we've heard from people that come that they really make valuable and long-lasting contacts from all over the world. We have an alumni network of over 10,000 people, which I'm sure, Patrick, you must be part of because you've been here and visited through the alumni network. It's a great network to be part of, really is. And as I mentioned before, with the language training, we are a bilingual organization speaking French and English, but you need to know one, not both, in order to come here. If you come already being able to speak one of them, you can have the opportunity to learn the other when you get here. Just for those of you who might not be computer science students or in the computing field, actually, it's a bit of a common misnomer that we only recruit physicists. And sometimes we really struggle to attract people in other domains because people just don't know about all the other opportunities that there are at CERN. So please talk to your other network within the university or other universities, your friends, and let them know because there are lots of opportunities in plenty of areas: electronics, electrical engineering, communication. We have doctors at CERN, we have firefighters at CERN. There's plenty of people in many different domains: legal, finance, procurement, all over. So what opportunities are there if you're interested in coming here? Well, there's opportunities for students. I'll show you a bit in a minute about the technical student program. This is the program that I first came to CERN on a long time ago. But we also have an administrative student program and doctoral student program too. And then every summer we have a very prestigious summer student program where people come for 2 months in the summer and work more specifically on physics projects. We also offer some short-term internships, which can be, I think, 4 to 6 months, where you can also come and work in the organization outside of these programs. Then once people have their bachelor's degree, they can come as a graduate. We have early career professionals programs and then more experienced graduate programs afterwards. And then longer down the road, there are staff member opportunities too at CERN. The technical student program, we recruit around 250 people per year. This is a quote from a technical student in electronics. It's a great place to start a career. learn new skills, and make new friends. There's plenty of different subjects here, as you can see: mathematics, robotics, material science, mechanical engineering. You have a CERN supervisor who steers you while you're here, looks after you, with an allowance to enable you to live within the region. There's a travel allowance paid to you for coming here at the start of your contract. We have a great health insurance program and 2.5 days of paid leave per month. So in order to be eligible, you need to have a minimum of 18 months of undergraduate studies, and it can be for a period of 4 to 12 months. So we usually publish these vacancies 3 times a year in these 3 periods noted on the slide. I would recommend you just keep checking the careers website at CERN to see when those jobs are open. I'd also recommend, if you don't get selected the first time you apply, if you're really keen and it's possible, apply again. Sometimes it just happens that a supervisor won't have a project at the right moment for you that when you first apply, but they might have it the second time. So, be persistent and keep trying. These projects do change and iterate throughout the year, depending on what supervisors have available. Few more key facts. You need to upload your CV when you apply. Try and keep it maximum 2 pages. Tell us as much as you can about why you're great. I've read in a lot of CVs that people say why CERN is great. We know CERN's great. We want to know why you're great. So make sure your CV really tells us as much about you as possible. It's also optional, but perhaps recommended, to add a motivation letter with a transcript of your grades. And if you can, provide a reference letter from somebody that can, attest to your capabilities and what you've already achieved and what you're interested in. You can also apply for several programs at the same time. You don't just have to put all your eggs in one basket towards, for example, the technical student program. We have, as I mentioned before, the summer student program, highly competitive actually, and not just physics purely, but there are a few other areas, but there is quite a lot of physics projects here in this program. There's not just work involved, but actually a series of lectures delivered throughout the summer that you're invited to attend. Again, you get the travel allowance, and we try and help people to find accommodation nearby, because it can be quite daunting trying to find accommodation here in Geneva at the best of times. So in terms of eligibility, you need to have 3 years of full-time studies at university level. It's from 8 to 13 weeks over the summer. You can specify the number of weeks you're available and which time frame over the summer you're available. The applications generally open just before Christmas, around November, December time, and they close in January. And then the selections generally take place, I think, in about March time, with the aim that you come the following summer. Our short-term internship program, if you know somebody at CERN that you would be interested in working in, this could be a nice alternative opportunity if you are able to contact them and discuss coming to CERN as an intern. For example, you can't spend, the entire year doing like a placement year, and you want to do something for perhaps a month or 2 months. Look at your network. Look at who is running interesting projects at CERN, which specific areas you might be interested in. Try contacting people, because people can take somebody on for a month or so just on this short-term internship program, which can give you a great entry point to the organization. And the applications are actually open all year round to this. And you just need to be a full-time student at undergraduate level in order to be eligible. The Early Career Professionals, this is a new program. It used to be our fellowship program, and actually we've changed it slightly, having taken on board some of the feedback that we received both from the supervisors and the students coming to the organization. And it's been hugely successful. I think we've doubled or tripled the number of graduates we've had here in the last couple of years. It gives your career real momentum to have something like this on your CV. It covers all disciplines across the whole organization. Again, not just physics, engineering, science, admin roles as well. We have junior lawyers coming in, people helping in recruitment, plenty of areas where these grads come in and have great impact. So it's kind of on-the-job learning, full immersion in a CERN team. We pay you again to make sure you can live in the area, and you have health insurance, and you're also a member of the CERN pension fund as part of this program. You get, again, the same leave as everybody else. In terms of eligibility, you need to, it can be actually quite a broad range. So we have these graduate positions available to people who are perhaps doing a more technical apprenticeship style education, or going all the way up to perhaps bachelor's, master's. You need to have maximum 2 years of relevant experience after your highest degree. So we really aim to focus on people who are recent graduates or about to graduate. In principle, the duration is 2 years, but it can be shorter or it can be extended depending on the circumstances. And we continuously hire throughout the year. So if this is something that interests you, just keep an eye on the careers website at CERN at all times. These are the more experienced project graduates. For people who have already got a master's with 2 to 6 years of relevant experience or a PhD. Again, it's the same length, 2 years up to potentially 3, again, depending on the circumstances, and we continuously hire throughout the year. The recruitment process, if you're interested, so first of all, you make your online application. You can find the place to apply through the careers website at CERN. There may be a video interview. I always like to do video interviews before I recruit a graduate. Sometimes you have an actual interview, usually online as well, but might be with more than one person. And then there's the selection process and the decision, and then you'll be made an offer should you be successful in your application. If there's multiple graduate positions that you're interested in, there's no harm in applying for more than one. Just make sure that you're applying to something that your profile really is targeted to, that it fits you and that you could actually be successful in when you come to the organization. Just to, you know, make it a bit more interesting, on top of all that, the lovely work that you can do here, there's some great stuff that you can do here as well in your spare time outside of work. One of the things I definitely appreciate is how accessible Geneva is, the international airport just down the road, but we also have train networks and, you know, France, Italy, just there to explore, not far away. There's great hiking and skiing. There's great summer events here with the lake, music festivals, food, art festivals, lots of sports events. And of course, the Swiss and French culture is wonderful. I haven't been here 20 years. I can't recommend it enough, to be honest. All right, that's pretty much the end of what I wanted to talk to you about this morning. And now I would just like to hear any questions you may have on AI strategy or the job opportunities at CERN, and I'll try and do my best to answer them. Thank you for having listened.
Well, thank you very much for your talk, Lucy. So I worked at CERN. I went there at the end of my undergrad and initially applied there for 1 year as a technical student. And then in that time, Lucy was actually in that promotional video of the technical student program. Just wanted to add this. And I worked there on search engines and natural language processing. And then I could just stay for another 2 years as a fellow. If you want a job for life, maybe CERN would not be your primary destination because most jobs are supposed to be a limited duration. There are opportunities to get a lifetime appointment or indefinite contract, but CERN is also a place for education. So the hope is that most who work there return at some point to one of the member states and contribute their knowledge. And I think it can really give you a head start in your career if you spend some time at CERN. And I think it certainly helped in my case very well. So when I started working here 5 years ago, I felt we should collaborate with CERN, and currently 2 of the students from our department are at CERN for a technical studentship. We had the CERN Spring Campus last year here, a very great event. And now your guest lecture, Lucy, thank you very much. And in October, probably October the 15th, CERN is coming here for a recruiting roadshow. So they're going to visit multiple universities in the south of Germany. And they will also do something here. So most likely on October the 15th, but it will be promoted sometime in September or early October. And I also gave some input on CERN's AI strategy. I sat together with Lucy. I sat together with James Purvis, who is the head of HR. And I also had a chat, for example, with Mark Thompson, the Director General-elect, who will run CERN as of early next year. And yeah, I wish you all the best for your AI strategy and implementing it. And now let's see if there are any questions. Are there any questions here in the room? Yes?
Ethics and the AI Act. I wanted to ask her if she could elaborate on that a bit more.
I don't know. Did you hear the question, Lucy?
You'd like me to elaborate on something a bit more, but I didn't hear what, sorry.
Okay. If you could elaborate a bit on the AI Act and ethics and how that's important at CERN.
Oh, okay. So the AI Act is long and very complete, but a very powerful, useful tool. So my understanding of it is that it really looks at the different risk levels of AI. And then once you've addressed the different risk levels, this is then how safe AI is to use. So for example, in our case here, we have kind of very globally two pieces of AI. We have AI for research and experimentation and AI for productivity. And as you can probably imagine, if you think about AI for research, there's much less personal data involved. There's much less risk of contracts or data related to, sensitive data that could be released. The research is data that we were working on for the world, for the mission of CERN. And so here the risks that we have identified are much less, that we need to apply less constraints to, in fact, or we need to put in less structure around. This is what the AI Act recommends. Whereas you think about AI for productivity, you've probably got, personal data, again, contract data, you've got agreements with member states, for example, you've got things that are much more sensitive that you have to put much more constructs in place to make sure that people anonymize the data they are using AI with there as much as possible, to protect people, to think about data privacy by design, or to make sure that we're not releasing any sensitive contractual information that is between CERN and a different organization. So the risk level is a lot higher for AI for productivity. And this is where the AI Act kind of guides you to measure those two different risk areas and apply mitigating actions differently depending on what the risk level is. Does that answer your question?
Yes. Maybe you could elaborate a little bit more on how difficult or easy it was for you to put your AI use cases in different levels of high, medium, and low. Because in my opinion, I'm struggling a lot with putting it into the right spectrum, in the right field. So maybe you could elaborate on that a bit more.
So how we've assessed the AI risk for our different use cases?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So actually, it's not a task we've entirely completed yet. We have done it for a very limited subset of use cases that we're doing as part of a pilot. And we've set up some kind of data privacy aspects where we have an internal register of the risks that could occur, looking at the different use cases. Now, what we're trying to achieve is something more global and less prescriptive use case per use case, because we need to have some guidance for the organization regardless of their situation in terms of what they need to do. And this is where the UNESCO guidelines come in quite nicely to show what things you must really take consideration of for all of your AI use. What we're aiming for is to have by the end of this year something more complete with our risk register, looking at the different use cases and actually looking at the different types of AI risk involved and what mitigating actions or what things people need to take care of for that. So we haven't got quite that far yet. We've only done it for a short subset for the moment.
Thank you.
Yeah, the AI Act also, or CERN is not subject to the AI Act since it's an international organization. Yet, similar to GDPR, CERN tries to be compliant or maybe come up with a set of rules that is inspired by that
Indeed.
regulation.
And if we don't actually, thing is, if we don't adhere to them, other companies or institutes won't necessarily collaborate with us. It's a bit catch-22. So that's why, as you say, we have our own internal mechanisms of regulation that we apply to be as very close as possible to things like the AI Act and GDPR that actually bring about a bit of CERN specificity to it as well.
Great. Any other questions? Yes.
AI. So you mentioned that point. I wanted to know, unless it's private, I wanted to know at CERN, how is explainability or how are explainability techniques used to make AIs explainable to help the stakeholders when taking decisions?
I would just repeat the question in case the question was not loud enough. It's about explainable AI and what's the importance of explainable AI at CERN for also decision makers, right? Something like this. Okay.
So I'll give you one example that we have to we're building into our AI strategy. So within the research sector, they not only need to be able to use AI to speed up their data processing, but they also need to know exactly why the results are coming out of the AI in the way that they are. So they're kind of using AI to explain AI in specifically that domain. It's not something that they have completed yet, but exactly as you mentioned, explainable AI in that context is very important. In terms of AI around productivity, explainable AI, we have made it extremely clear to people in policy that we're drafting that actually the human oversight needs to be very important to check the results you get coming out of AI so that you can explain them and that you understand why you're getting the results that are there, and that this human oversight and the human judgment must always be part of any actions with AI in the organization.
Okay, next question.
Physical modeling, and I would like to know what's maybe is the most non-obvious / interesting use case of AI you have encountered, if you can share.
So I'll repeat the question. She has worked on physical modeling and she's curious about the most interesting or most important use case of AI you have come across at CERN.
That's a tough one to answer. There's so much. And I have to confess with you, being part of the kind of strategy driving, more businessy side of things, I'm not exposed to all of the physics AI that's going on. Let me see what I think we had I had something in one of my previous slides. If you bear with me, there was something quite nice where we were doing. I have one little example here. So event simulation, current use of AI and event simulation in the LHC experiments. So basically they're trying to do faster simulations, more statistics with the same resources, but also contribution to energy savings as well, thinking about, green use of AI as well. So using neural networks to replace heavy computational parts. Just a nice example. I'm afraid I don't have all of them. I wish I did.
Yeah, the reason we invited Lucy here for this guest lecture in this big data course also, CERN is really a place for big data. This is where the World Wide Web comes from, where Tim Berners-Lee created the initial infrastructure. But if you look at those detectors around the LHC, when they run, they generate a few petabytes of raw data per second. So multiple petabytes per second. There's lots of pre-filtering because you're unable to store, petabytes per second. There's lots of pre-filtering, and then the most relevant data is kept for further analysis. But if you're interested in big data, CERN is definitely the right place to be. Any other questions? Yes?
So this is more related to the career prospect. Lucy, since you are like almost 20 years being at the CERN, and how being a business analyst in the CERN is different from like a company or any normal industry?
So the question is, you've been now at CERN for 20 years. How does CERN differ from a job in industry or a job at a company, especially from the perspective of a business analyst?
So again, having been here 25, so I came here as a technical student in 2002, and then I worked after my degree for a year in the UK, and then I came here, and I've done multiple roles at CERN, but I haven't worked very much at all in industry. Saying that, I've worked quite heavily with consultants in various business-driven projects, and it's quite interesting to see the approaches that are taken in business-driven, really corporate kind of approaches. Actually taking that, and that's what's inspired some of my work through driving strategy. If you want to put in place a strategy and you want it to work, you need a strong vision, you need a strong strategy, and you need a strong roadmap. And this is common throughout the world. Bringing this approach to CERN has been a challenge at times. It's a different way of thinking, applying corporate kind of methods inside of kind of more traditional academic organization, university type almost organization, is a culture shift, exactly where it comes back to my point on change management. So that's kind of a difference I notice between the two. Another point, I was talking to one of my ex-students yesterday who now works in a big corporate company elsewhere in Switzerland, and they were saying that one of the things they really appreciated about CERN is the collaboration and the encouragement and the enthusiasm that comes from being in the organization. The purpose of CERN is a beautiful purpose. We want to really discover the world's origins, and that unites people here with a very strong passion and enthusiasm for what they do, which I understand perhaps not every company or organization has that same beautiful purpose. And so that's another difference that I think can be observed between CERN and perhaps more corporate places.
Yeah, I agree with all of that, and yeah, CERN is a very special place because you're at the forefront of physics. In terms of the business, well, CERN gets most of its money from the member states, and they pay their annual contributions. So you don't have an immediate customer that you need to satisfy. So this is sometimes, but you need also that freedom, and not just check with your customers every day, but sometimes, obviously, it's helpful if people from outside bring in this business mentality. For example, the group in which I worked, I proposed and I introduced Scrum. It's something they had not used in that time. So that was in 2011, 2012. But it really helped to increase productivity and have clear deliverables every day, and then a sprint review every 3 weeks. And I think the whole team and the output got way more focused than before.
I fully support exactly that. And that was an exact transformation that I did in a previous role, was that we brought about, agile practices in our IT delivery. And, it was something that the business didn't necessarily welcome at first, because they had to change, the way of working. It wasn't, I'm coming to ask for this, please do it, and it will hopefully get done soon. It was, okay, here's all the lists of demands. How do we prioritize them between them, and what do we deliver first based on value? And you please collaborate with our development teams so they can show you back what they're doing. We can iterate and test, bringing in the notion of user experience measuring as well. A lot of changes like this that were quite tricky, to be honest, but you're absolutely right. I can't agree more, bring huge value.
Any other questions? If there are any questions in Zoom, maybe just turn on your mic and let us know. If you have any further questions, obviously feel free to reach out to Lucy and take a look at the career opportunities in case you're interested working at CERN. So Lucy, thank you very much for your guest lecture. It's been great to see you again today and learn about AI strategies at CERN, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me, and it's nice to meet you all. Good luck with your future studies, and as Patrick said, don't hesitate to reach out if you've got questions.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.